All Black squad is not too far away, folks. We're going to look at 5 halfbacks from New Zealand and decide who is the form halfback here in NZ based on the Super Rugby season 2023 up until the final round of regular season rugby. I know some teams are going to go further than others in terms of the playoffs and whatnot. Highlanders obviously didn't make it. Hurricanes are already out. But to kind of keep the playing field level, we're going to look at the regular season. One guy from each team. And you guys can let us know your thoughts on who you reckon the top guys are. We're going to look at the stats. And you do have to be careful with stats in rugby because it's a team game. Your team could have no possession, which means you're going to get less ball. Your team could have heaps of possession, which means you're going to have heaps of passes, but fewer tackles. So kind of keep that kind of stuff in mind. But still, I do think the stats tell something of a story. So we'll compare them. And as I said, you guys can put your thoughts forward as to who you reckon, who's the best guy for starting, who do you reckon is the bench guy, who do you reckon is pretty far from the squad, and we'll kind of go from there. Now, initially, I'm not going to put names to the numbers, so you can kind of get an objective look at how you think each halfback is going, and then at the end, we'll kind of compare them and reveal who they are. You probably can guess from the numbers anyway, but we'll reveal them and then... we'll get a kind of whole picture. So, first guy we're going to call halfback A. Now, you'll get kind of more context as we look through different guys' numbers, but essentially, what this guy A brings to the game is unbelievable attacking prowess. 9 tries. Way more than anybody else we're going to talk about. The next best is like 3. But only 2 try assists, which is the lowest of anyone we're going to talk about. So, more of a try scorer than a setter-upper of tries. Passes at kind of a less than a rate a minute. We'll get guys who certainly pass the ball quicker than that, but kicks the ball more than anybody else we're going to look at. So less passing, more kicking, marginal. A lot more tries than assists, but easily the most clean breaks of anybody we're going to look at. Easily the most defenders beaten, 43. I think our next best is going to be 15. So we are talking unbelievable attacking prowess compared to everybody else. And then a tackling rate of 81% is going to end up kind of in the middle. So just when you think of guy number A, you're thinking individual attacking brilliance for the most part. Now, next guy we're going to look at, B. A couple of tries, which is not the most, it's not the least. 7 try assists is the second best, but second best by a long way. The next best had 13. 738 passes, 757 minutes, so around about a pass a minute. The most passes of anybody we've had on the list, but among the most minutes played, so kind of take that into account as well. Kicks a lower amount than passing, certainly less than guy number A. Letter A. Clean breaks and defenders beaten, again, it's kind of in the middle, and the tackling rate of 74%. Is the second lowest of any halfback we're going to see. So this guy, halfback B, is very much a kind of decent at everything. Not really the best at anything, but not really the worst at anything either. So a very kind of middle of the road guy. C, played a lot less minutes than the first 2 guys. The first 2 guys were in the 700s. This guy only played 556 minutes, so kind of keep that into account. But more passing than minutes played. So a very kind of quick recycle ball. 4 try assists, which is in the middle, but given played less minutes is pretty solid. 3 tries is second equal. Obviously, it's a long way behind 9, but again, less minutes played. The lowest of all the kicking rates compared to the amount of passes thrown. Clean breaks and defenders beaten is second equal for both. So this guy is probably your maybe second most dangerous attacking threat ball in hand and your best defender, with a 91% tackle completion rate. Now, again, I do take tackle completion rates kind of carefully because remember, some halfbacks are designed to kind of just shoot out of the line and make people's lives miserable, maybe close them down rather than make a tackle. But if this guy is sent out to make tackles, he makes them 91% of the time. So certainly your best defender and kind of your second best attacker. Fourth guy is Mr. Try Assists. Goodness gracious me, 13 try assists is first by a mile. Like I mentioned, the next best is 7 in 590 minutes as well. So kind of fewer minutes than guys A and B, more on a par with guy C. 3 tries is second, 507 passes in 590 minutes, so kind of less than a pass a minute, but again, you have to take into account how much ball your team has had. 1 clean break is last equal, but 8 defenders beaten is kind of in the middle. We do have, though, the lowest tackling rate of any of the halfbacks with 72. Remember, the last guy was a 91. The second worst guy is at 74, so kind of pretty marginal. But your worst defender, but your best guy for try assists by a mile, and kicks a decent amount. Kicks kind of at a very similar rate to your first guy, your kind of attacking threat guy. And your last guy is a kind of, I want to say, black and white player. Virtually no attacking threat, but heaps of distribution. Like, 1 try is last, 3 for try assists is also close to last, it's second last, but 613 passes in 523 minutes. That is some kind of snappy passing. Again, you need to have your team to have the ball, but geez, that's a high. That's a lot of passes. That's just, you're in the team to pass the ball. That's your primary job. Kicking rate is kind of relatively low compared to some of the other guys. 1 clean break is last, equal. 5 defenders beaten is last. But tackling rate at 84% is second. So kind of your middle of the road, like well below 91, but well below you guys in the above you guys in the 70s. So yeah, these are your 5 guys: A, B, C, D, and E. Looking at these numbers, who would be your guy? Who's the guy you want to be leading the way? Do you want your attacking threat guy? Do you want your try assist guy? Do you want your guy who can just pass for days? Best defensive guy? Your middle of the road guy? Well, if you haven't figured it out, halfback A was Cam Roigard for the Canes. He's been unbelievable, scoring tries for fun. He is certainly your least experienced of these 5 guys. Finlay Christie for the Blues was your B-man. So he's, like, as I said, kind of a jack of all trades, but he's not the best at any one thing. C was Brad Weber. So obviously he's had fewer minutes than some of the other guys, but he still looked pretty dangerous. And as I said, the most defensively sound of the players. Aaron Smith, kind of maybe no surprises with those 13 try assists, was your guy D. Now, with those 507 passes, it doesn't quite take into account how beautiful some of those passes were. And you got to admit, the stats don't do justice on terms of how good that guy can pass a rugby ball, but the try assists probably is a measure of that. Like, the guy can, he's got pinpoint accurate passing, doesn't he? And then Mitch Drummond, behind that big Crusaders forward pack, was your 5th guy. So, I mean, going into this one, I thought Aaron Smith surely is your starting guy, and based on those numbers, I don't have a problem with that. Obviously, his tackling rate would like to go up a wee bit, but he's not the biggest guy. And then who do you go? I mean, I would love to see Cameron Roigard get a go at international level before the World Cup, because we don't have that many games. There's only 3 games in the Rugby Championship and then some Rugby World Cup warm-up games. I'd love to see that guy get a taste beforehand. Does Brad Weber offer something pretty similar? Yes, but maybe not to that same degree, but certainly he's been there and done it at international level. Or do you just go with the jack of all trades and Finlay Christie? I mean, there's other guys who I haven't even mentioned. Some of the kind of, backup guys like Folau Fakatawa. I didn't even look at his numbers because, in terms of minutes, it wouldn't really be a fair comparison. But, yeah, there you go, folks. What do you reckon? Who would be your pick for your best halfback in New Zealand based on the regular season? Obviously, Finlay Christie scored a try in the quarterfinal and whatnot, so these numbers have changed a little bit since then. But yeah, what do you guys reckon? Who'd be your picks? Aaron Smith and anybody else? You guys have any thoughts? And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.